I am Hilda of House Feltomer. Just like the Imperial family. If you mean to take advantage of my skills, you had best know what you're doing.
Arthur isn't the only new unit who shares an existing name because our Grand Hero Battle unit is Hilda from Genealogy of the Holy War. From my very basic understanding of this character, she's definitely not like the Holly Jolly Hilda from Three Houses. This Hilda is a bit of a big baddie, and some of her actions include child hunts, whatever that means. How lovely. Now, as a unit, Hilda will be a Red Infantry Mage, which already makes me hurt inside since our last Grand Hero Battle unit was also a Red Infantry Mage. For stats, Hilda has 41 HP, 40 attack, 25 speed, 24 defense, and 40 res. High attack and res with low speed and defense is nothing new for the Grand Hero Battle Red Mages. She does have 3 super boons in attack, defense, and res, but this comes at the cost of only having 170 BST, which means even with a super boon, Hilda isn't going to be able to hit the next BST bin for arena scoring. Interestingly, Hilda is our first lady for this overcrowded Grand Hero Battle Red Infantry Mage group, and guess what? That's good enough to get her a unique tome. Fiery Bolganone, aka the Fiery Bologna tome, is a very interesting weapon. It has 14 might and grants a flat +3 res, bumping Hilda up to 43 res at base. At start of turn, if Hilda is within 4 spaces of a foe, grants dominance to Hilda, and inflicts -6 attack and res on the nearest foes. Additionally, if Hilda initiates combat or is not adjacent to an ally, she gets +6 attack and res during combat. Wow. In a surprising turn of events, I actually don't have to complain about inheritable red tomes this time because we just got a free unit who has dominance in their weapon. For those not familiar with dominance, I don't blame you because it's a status effect that was only given out via dual Micaiah and Swords of Dual Skill. This status gives the user true damage equal to the total penalties on the foe per hit. In essence, dominance is basically the same effect as Gunther's Blizzard or the Broadleaf Fan. You get extra damage the more debuffs are on the enemy. The main difference is that Blizzard grants bonus attack like a Blade Tome, while dominance is true damage. True damage will not care about dealing negative damage or be affected by the weapon triangle, but it also doesn't boost things like Glimmer or Astral damage. It also doesn't help with attack checks for things like Heavy Blade. Regardless, dominance is an extremely rare status, so to see it on a free red mage of all things is pretty neat. Fiery Bolganone even has a half menace type debuff to get Hilda +12 damage via dominance. If you want more, you're gonna need speed and defense debuffs somehow. Honestly, this would have been enough for a fun unique weapon, but Hilda also gets +6 attack and res during combat if she initiates or is solo. If you think about it, -6 res plus 12 damage from dominance plus 6 attack gives Hilda 24 damage just from this weapon alone. With full -6 debuffs on the enemy, that itself is 24 dominance true damage. On the defensive side, -6 attack debuffs with +9 res total from Fiery Bolganone and 40 base res will make Hilda quite tough to kill with magic damage. The only issue is her rather low base speed. All in all, Fiery Bolganone is very cool. It's a more offensive weapon with a menace type playstyle, but keep in mind it's not exactly like a Pledgeon tome. For the rest of her base kit, Hilda has Glacius as her special, great for damage, but charging it up is another story. For A skills, Hilda has attack and res ideal 3, and then to proc it, when at under 4 HP, she has Rouse attack and res 3. Another plus 11 attack and res from her passives on top of Fiery Bolganone makes Hilda pretty dangerous and quite a magical tank. She already hits 60 res, and that's not including the attack debuffs. As a reminder, Fiery Bolganone has a solo condition for the +6 attack and res for the enemy phase that can work with the Rouse buff, and combined with the attack and res debuffs, it's like Hilda has a makeshift attack and res menace. While attack and res ideal and Rouse attack and res are not new to the Hero Grail pool, they are both decent budget options and can lead into their 4 or their tier 4 variants. I mean, I'll take anything over HP and Speed 2 or Fire Boost 3. For merging, if you stick with the neutral nature, Hilda gets +1 HP, attack, and res. That is totally fine, but she does have those 3 super boons if you wish to focus on attack, defense, or res. Generally speaking, if you want to abuse dominance, the attack boost might be worth it. If you want to stack defense, then +4 doesn't hurt, and extra flat res could be useful for certain skills. While Hilda is our 4th Gen 6 Hero Girl Red Infantry Mage, she is the only one to get a unique and spicy weapon. She is the slowest mage with the highest attack and res, but being most similar to Alfric stat-wise. We have other similar stats on Solon and Veld, although those two have their gimmicky weapons. In regards to a more tankier mage, Julius with his Dragon Wall Refine has become pretty interesting. I do see Hilda as a more offensive unit who wants to abuse dominance for big burst damage. She is actually quite similar to Arvis, whose Refine is the Blizzard effect, and he inflicts debuffs himself. Hilda's a bit more selfish with her Menace style debuffs compared to Arvis's big AoE. While Fiery Bolganone is fun, I do want to mention Salem and the others using the Red Vulture Tome instead. Pledging weapons do not get dominance, but they still add a lot of power by giving the user massive attack debuffs. Hilda doesn't exactly boost her defense a ton, whereas a Vulture Tome plus attack and Menace build can apply more attack debuffs overall. Salem or someone like Peleus also have a ton more speed to play with, and speed is definitely one of Hilda's downsides. Fiery Bolganone offers no help in that department. Moving on to the 3 to 4 star mid mages, because of Fiery Bolganone's pseudo-Pledgian plus Menace playstyle, I have to mention Mel Morgan again. His Refined Grimish Truth basically is a Pledgian weapon with Menace buff slash debuff all in one package, and he can inflict speed debuffs as well. Hilda also technically benefits from speed or defense debuffs, but she is just turning it into extra damage via dominance. Now, stat-wise, Hilda is somewhat similar to Miranda and No, who both focus on, or have a focus on higher res. Obviously, Hilda beats them comfortably at the cost of a ton of speed. I also bring up Lilina since Fiery Bolganone is sort of just a way more advanced version of 4 Blaze, lots of bonus attack with res debuffs. For builds, Hilda has a competent base kit, so you can keep it to just stack a ton of attack and res. Fiery Bolganone provides debuffs for dominance, but obviously you want speed and defense debuffs as well. For the most part, Hilda will need to rely on allies, but you could run speed or defense ploy, or maybe a dual chill if it's easy to get. Since part of the weapon does have a solo condition for enemy phase and Hilda has a Rouse buff, you could just run attack and res solo, pair this with the classic quick repose for the simplest of res tanking builds. Generally speaking, if Hilda makes a player phase move, she should have dominance with its debuffs, but her low speed, she's probably not going to be doubling anything. This is kind of a problem, and while she can deal a ton of damage in one hit, you're kind of stuck with one hit only. Now, if Hilda can survive, there is the interesting choice of good old Vantage 3. The dual Micaiah plus Harmonic Altina tag team utilizes this bonus skills to combine dominance with Vantage and Altina's distant counter brave hits. It's a nasty combo that Hilda cannot replicate, but hey, it's still going to be a lot of damage if debuffs are fully stacked on the enemy. While I wouldn't seriously recommend it, if you really want, there are budget ways to build for speed. Speed and solo from Urk, swap to Rouse speed and defense from Ferdy, and pick your Sacred Seal solo skill of choice. Again, we ain't breaking any records, but you can give it a try if you really want. In terms of premium skills, Hilda may have a fancy unique tome, but she's unfortunately not safe from the rather uninteresting skill pool for slower mages. For these slow, non-armored mages, there just isn't a ton of new tools besides the usual suspects like low attack and res, quicker post, or trying to survive with sturdy impact. Hilda could honestly just stick with most of her kit and run low attack and res with quicker post, a solo seal, or maybe mystic boost. Commit to the full res stacking playstyle and hope to get some big damage hits in with dominance. Sadly, this doesn't help Hilda get speed or defense debuffs, but in general, it's going to be hard to do self-sufficiently. If we do get speed and defense menace in the future, that's one way to go about it, but if you want speed and res variance or speed and defense variance for sabotage or ruse B skills, these are the hardest ones to get. Hilda actually can run any sabotage for more debuffing coverage, but reminder that dominance is only granted if she's within 4 spaces of an enemy. The Vulture Tome users can bypass this issue with debuffing teammates like Reeve for -5 to all stats. Hilda would also love those debuffs herself, but if she isn't close enough at the start of the turn to an enemy, she doesn't get no dominance. Similarly, running a Ruse B skill might be tricky since, again, you have to be within attack range for dominance, and for enemy phase baiting, Hilda has to be solo. It's just an awkward playstyle in general, which is why I say Hilda is mainly offensive in nature. The issue with player phase initiations is her lack of speed, plus lack of physical bulk. You could try sturdy impact, but honestly, maybe just run attack and defense solo instead. One thing I do want to mention is the Vantage set with close counter skills. It's not the craziness of the Micaiah Altina combo, but sometimes Vantage plus one big dominance hit can mess up an enemy's plans. So, should you promote Hilda to 5 stars? Well, stat-wise, she's prime red Grand Hero Battle Mage material. The bog standard, high attack and res, low speed and defense stat spread is nothing new. Hilda can definitely tank some mages, but she probably gets doubled, which only worsens physical damage matchups. As for her base kit, actually pretty good, including a unique tome. Attack and Res Ideal can be activated via Raw Stack and Res, and both stack with Fiery Bolganone for a ton of damage and resistance. Hilda has a menace type playstyle since she has to be near enemies to even proc dominance or to get the dominant status. If you can stack enough debuffs for her, her damage potential is very high though. Overall, Hilda is a fun addition to the ever-growing red mage pool. I am amazed a free unit is our second ever holder of dominance, and while Hilda probably needs to help getting speed and defense debuffs, Fiery Bolganone at least provides some of the debuffs on its own. Ultimately, while it's just a cool weapon that isn't super gimmicky, the lack of passes for slower mages just kinda sucks. It's also tougher to use Hilda defensively because she has to be within those 4 spaces to get dominance in the first place, which means problems arise if the enemy isn't actively moving toward you. While I love what Fiery Bolganone offers, I wouldn't say Hilda is a must use. Sure, she can dish out massive burst damage in a single hit, but with how much damage reduction is in the game, securing pure one-shot KOs is not an easy task. You can try a speed build, but you're really far behind to start with. I would also entertain the potential Vantage playstyles with Hilda, and technically you could enemy phase without dominance, then on the next player phase get it active. That is something to think about, although speed and defense are still a big concern for Hilda. That'll be it for this video, and I'm glad to see her girl Red Mage actually get something unique. Hopefully the Red Mage spam doesn't continue, but for now I like having some new things to talk about. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.